This conference will now be recorded.
Albeit a little bit later than our regular starting time, the Engineering and Operations Committee meeting, as well as the special meeting of the Board of Directors. Today is December 15th, and it is about 10 after 4 p.m. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order, and do we have a quorum? We do.
Chairman Alvarez, I'll run through a quick roll call just for the record.
Okay.
Director Deere?
Deere, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much. Director Gray?
Hello. Yes, I'm here.
Yes. Thank you very much, Director
Yes.
Gray. So we do have 2 members of the Board of Directors. Now I'll do the committee. President Williams? Here. And Chairman Alvarez?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. Next item up is, are there any public comment?
Chairman Alvarez, I'm not aware of any requests for public comment. I did notice that we do have a couple of guests here with us today, but I have not yet received any requests. So if anybody, member of the public is here that would like to make a public comment, please let us know.
None. We'll move on. Next item is presentations, and do we have any presentations?
Chairman Alvarez, we do not have any presentations.
Okay, let's move on to the action calendar. And the first item up is the Inglewood Basketball and Entertainment Center Recycled Water Meter Service Construction Agreement. So we will have a presentation on that, Mr. General Manager.
Yes, Chairman Alvarez, I'm very excited about this item. As you mentioned, it is related to the Inglewood Basketball and Education Center in the city of Inglewood. Obviously, West Basin is always working with our communities to expand the use of recycled water. And for this item, action item 5A, which begins on packet page 3, we do have Jeremiah Shea, who's our operations analyst, here for the presentation.
Thank you, EJ, and good evening, directors. I'm happy to present this action item for the committee today. We believe this is an exciting opportunity for the district to expand recycled water use in the city of Inglewood. And with that, I will jump right into it. So the Murphy's Bowl LLC is a developer associated with the Los Angeles Clippers basketball team. They have approached West Basin and asked us to provide a new recycled water service connection for the future Inglewood Basketball and Entertainment Center, or the IBEC site in the city of Inglewood. Recycled water is proposed to be used at the site for outdoor landscape irrigation, to supply cooling towers, and also for toilet and urinal flushing for a new recycled water annual demand of 40 acre-foot per year in the city of Inglewood. In order to provide recycled water to the IBEC site, a new 8-inch diameter pipeline service connection must be constructed from the district's existing 36-inch pipe on Prairie Avenue. A map showing the location of this project is included on page 17 of your packet if you'd like to reference that. Due to the project's accelerated timeline with construction already underway in 2021, the developer has offered to perform the design and construction of the new service connection and also to pay for the expenses for the design and construction, with West Basin to provide design review and construction inspection services to ensure that the new service is constructed per West Basin standards. Working with West Basin's legal counsel, our staff has developed an agreement W2986, which is provided in attachment A, which identifies the requirements for design and construction, the on-site recycled water use regulations, provisions for construction inspections, and the transfer of ownership of the new pipeline assets after completion. Agreement W2986 would also ensure that West Basin will be fully reimbursed for all of our design review and construction inspection costs spent on the project. These costs are estimated at $58,000 initially, and the developer would fully reimburse that or whatever the total amount ends up being at the end of the project. At the completion of the project and upon West Basin's acceptance, the developer will transfer ownership of the new recycled water assets to West Basin. Staff recommends that the board authorize the interim general manager to execute agreement W2986 with Murphy's Bowl LLC for the IBEC recycled water meter service construction project. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions from the board.
Okay, thank you very much. President Williams, do you have any questions?
Yeah. My mic. There it is. Is my mic on now? Okay.
It is.
Yeah. And this project sounds like it's in alignment with what we want to do and with our recycled water system. The more customers we can get, that what is the annual demand on this site?
For all the recycled water use, right now we're estimating about 40 acre-feet per year, so it is a significant new demand in Inglewood.
Yeah, well, I would definitely support staff's recommendation. That's all.
Anything else?
That's it.
Any board members have any questions or comments? Okay, so hearing none, my only question is really reiteration. I believe you said that all of the costs are going to be covered by the development agreement, under development agreement by the developer, and it's estimated at 58,000. But if they go over that, so be it. They'll still be covered.
Correct. Yeah. At the end of the project, we would submit all of our costs to the developer, and they would be fully reimbursed, even if that number is above the initial $58,000 estimate.
All right. With that, then we will move this forward to the board.
I concur.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next item is another agreement. This is an amendment to the engineering design services agreement for the recycled water distribution system cathodic protection improvement project. So, Mr. General Manager, do you want to tell us about that project?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As you mentioned, the item before you is item 5B, which begins on packet page 29. The item is intended to amend an engineering design services agreement for recycled water distribution systems, the Cathodic protection system improvements project. For this presentation, we do have Kevin Cullen, our engineering 2 project manager, for the presentation.
Thank you, EJ. Good afternoon, Chairman Alvarez, members of the committee and board. As EJ mentioned, I'll be providing a recommendation to amend our existing engineering design services agreement with HDR Engineering for our recycled water distribution system, cathodic protection system improvements project. Before I dive into the memo, I'll just provide a quick high-level overview of what a cathodic protection system is. Essentially, a cathodic protection or CP system is a corrosion protection system. There are 2 types of cathodic protection systems, either an impressed cathodic protection system or a passive cathodic protection system. West Basin's recycled water distribution system is equipped with passive or galvanic anode cathodic protection systems. These systems consist of sacrificial blocks of a specified metal, in our case magnesium, often referred to as anodes, which are buried and electrically connected to the pipelines. So these sacrificial anodes are oxidized or consumed over time rather than the pipe material, therefore protecting the pipeline from corrosion. West Basin Municipal Water District delivers recycled water to its customers and satellite facilities using a network of over 100 miles of distribution piping. Approximately 44 miles of this 100 miles is metallic piping. In total, it's about 39% ductile iron, 27% welded steel, 17% mortar lined and coated, 11% cement mortar lined and tape wrapped, and 6% reinforced concrete cylinder pipe. In total, the cathodic protection system project improves our CP systems at a total of 277 individual locations and encompasses a footprint of 12 different cities and jurisdictions, including the cities of Carson, El Segundo, Gardena, Hawthorne, Inglewood, Lawndale, Los Angeles, Manhattan Beach, Redondo Beach, Hermosa Beach, Torrance, as well as the county of LA. And a map of the project site and impacted pipelines can be found in attachment A, which is on page 33 of the packet. A little bit of background in the timeline for the project. The project was first kicked off in 2017 with a testing phase. The goal of the testing project was to gather enough actionable field data to inform a detailed design. So the testing was all completed in 2018. We performed electrical continuity testing, soil resistivity testing, and remaining anode life calculations for all of the existing systems. Upon completion of the testing project, the board authorized staff to enter into agreement in December 2018 with HDR for the full design of the Cathodic protection system project. The scope at that time covered a full range of services, including general admin, detailed site investigations, PDR, permit plan, design submittals at 60%, 90%, and 100%, bid phase services, engineering services during construction, as well as closeout services. The design was underway from January 2019 through August 2020, whereby we completed the design in August 2020. It is worth noting that in June 2020, amendment number 1 was processed with HDR engineering for some additional field testing that was not previously performed. This amendment was in the amount of $82,419 and was amended using the previously approved board contingency funding. In February of this year, we issued notice to proceed to a contractor, T.E. Roberts, for the construction of the project, and construction has been underway and progressing well. As of right now, we are projecting an on-time completion in April 2022. So during the construction phase of this project, some additional services have been performed by HDR. A summary of the additional services can be found in table B on page 31 of the packet. The additional services performed included a redesign of an anode bed detail, specifically at a location in Hawthorne. We ran into an underground tunnel system, which required the anodes to be laid horizontally rather than vertically. There was also some training on a document management software that was required for HDR, as well as some traffic control plan revisions as required by the local jurisdictions. In total, HDR's total requested fee for the additional design services, as summarized in Table B, is $42,086. As well, a summary of the agreement W2820 with HDR Engineering can be found in Table C, also on page 31 of the packet. It is also worth noting that staff does work with consultants to evaluate whether additional services are justified. HDR did inquire about other services as well, to the tune of about $70,000, which were respectfully rejected by staff and deemed to be in scope. So staff has worked with HDR and negotiated the fee for these additional services down, and is what you see before you today. So with that, I will read the recommendation. The recommendation is that the board authorize the interim general manager to amend professional services agreement W2820 with HDR in the amount of $42,086 for a total not to exceed contract amount of $1,022,479.70. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. President Williams, do you have any questions?
The HDR's agreement, what is that for? Is that design services during construction or construction management services? What is that for?
Hey, Director Williams. The existing agreement with HDR is for a full suite of professional engineering design services. So they've been on board with us from preliminary design all the way through design services, including engineering services during construction and closeout services as well.
Okay, now, as I recall back, this project had a CIP number. So where are we with this? Is it still under the same number? Because I didn't see that listed in the report here. I don't see a CIP number for this project.
Director,
Yeah,
good afternoon, members of the board. Sure, we can add the CIP numbers to the reports, make sure. But yeah, the CIP numbers don't change for a particular project. They stay the same CIP number throughout. But,
Throughout the life of the project.
Yeah, we'll make it a point to add the CIP numbers to the reports
Yeah,
themselves.
because looking at it, so this is a new project with no number. So it's kind of, we need to make sure we do that. That's all I have for now, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. How many contracts are out for this project?
currently we hold 3 contracts, one for engineering services with HDR, one with AKM consulting engineers for construction management services, and one for construction services with the contractor T. Roberts. So 3
Okay.
total.
On that, you have T.R. Roberts is doing the construction. AKM is doing what?
Construction management and inspection.
They're doing the CM, and HDR is,
Engineering services.
so when you say engineering services, what do you mean?
So within HDR's scope, they are responsible for developing the detailed design. They have assembled the design documents. They performed upfront site investigations to inform their design. They did a preliminary design report. They developed a permit plan to help tackle the number of permits with the 13 jurisdictions. They also developed 60%, 90%, and 100% design submittals. Provided bid phase assistance during the bid phase, and are providing engineering services during construction, such as RFI review, submittal review, things of that nature.
Okay, thank you. And AKM is then just providing the construction management services.
Correct. Construction management and inspection. They have 2 field inspectors that supervise the contractor.
Okay. So, can you just give me the cost of each one of those contracts? How much are we paying T.R. Roberts? What's the value of that contract?
Give me 1 second here. T. Roberts contract is in the amount of 7.9 million approximately.
Okay, and what's the value of AKM's contract?
AKM's contract is approximately $954,000.
How much?
$954,000.
Okay, and then the total value of HDR's contract before this addition is 980,000, right?
That's correct.
What was the original estimated cost for this project?
Are you referring to the engineer's estimate?
No, I'm referring to the CIP approval. When it was theoretically put together a cost that said this is the cost for construction, inclusive of the contractor that's going to do the work, the design, the construction management, if there's going to be any, and any other costs associated with the project.
Yep. In the CIP budget, we have a total of 9.9 million.
That's what's in your budget now. What was the original proposed cost for this? Was it 9.9 million? That's what you guys came forward to the board when this project was first approved and said it's going to cost us 9.9 million?
Yes, Parker, can you help me with this?
Yeah, we can certainly roll back and see what we came with the board with at that time, but I could certainly tell you that this last budget, we came in and reported what we're going to spend, which is the same as what's in the fiscal impact, what we're going to spend for this fiscal year and what it is for the 5-year expenditure. Originally, we'll have to go back a couple of years ago and see what we said, exactly what the budget was. Of course, project budgets could change once you finish the design. You're well aware of that, and the estimates get updated. But we're happy to go back and see what that number is and forward that to you.
Okay, I would appreciate knowing what the original estimated cost for the whole
Original prior to
project, inclusive of design, management, and construction, and what it is now.
You'd like the value that was prior to design?
When this project was identified, you said it had a CIP number, so it was issued a CIP number. At that point in time, there was a number associated with the budget for the project. And then if it's changed since then, I'd like to know what those changes are.
Okay.
Another question, just out of, for information purposes, in the contract documents, the contractor is not responsible at all for any of the traffic control?
Yeah, so we took a strategic approach to the permitting. Given that there was 275 locations, we strategically planned based on the project phasing and the project schedule. The approach we took was we had a permit plan within HDR's scope, and HDR, along with their traffic control subconsultant, looked at each individual project site, and they identified the project sites that would, without a doubt, require a traffic control plan. So we had them produce those in advance of construction so that when the contractor was onboarded, they would have these in place and could approach the cities and immediately start the permit approval process. So that was for a select amount of specific traffic control plans. Any additional traffic control plans required by the cities or the jurisdictions themselves are the responsibility of the contractor. And it should be noted that the contractor is the one that actually holds the permits with the cities, and it's responsibility of them to carry out the permits.
Okay, so I'm not quite sure I follow. If HDR was responsible for providing, as part of the design, traffic control plans for all of the locations, why are there supplemental traffic control plans now being required?
Kevin, let me take a second stab at that. So there's multiple ways of doing the traffic control plans. As you mentioned, we get HDR, coordinate with all cities, and prepare the traffic control plan before we go out to bid. And I'm sure we've done projects in that fashion. The other way is to say, hey, contractor, in the specs, the responsibility for preparing the traffic control plan is you. You're going to go and pick up the permit from the city. The city is going to tell you how they want the traffic control plan set up. So therefore, the responsibility is on you. There's those two options. What we chose to do with this particular project, given the scope of it, given the multiple jurisdictions, given the phasing of it, and the timing of it, we said we're going to be able to get some input from some of these cities quicker than others. So let's get HDR to prepare these traffic control plans. They'll give it some definition. And some cities we projected that are going to take some more time until they review the draft traffic control plans that HDR prepared, provide comments back, go through those 1 or 2 times until they're satisfied with the product, the traffic control plans. So I think what Kevin was saying is that we did a strategic decision to kind of say, okay, we have some traffic control plans, some are finalized, some are in draft, and we're still going to get input from the city. This project is important, has been on the books for a while. It is protecting our investment. Let's go ahead and start the project, realizing that some traffic control plans, we're still going to get input from some of the cities and they will need to be revised. And so that's what happened. Did I answer your question?
I'm not quite sure if it answered my question or begs more questions. So HDR is responsible for preparing traffic control plans.
Right.
Traffic control plans are going to be provided to the contractor. And HDR's traffic control plans are not complete. Is that what you're telling me?
Some were complete and others were in draft form, waiting input from the cities when we went out to bid.
But wouldn't it be the responsibility of HDR anyways to complete and whatever corrections are required of those plans, make those corrections?
Right.
So then why are we paying them to make corrections? Responsibility.
These particular would be beyond the scope of for enforcement.
In your opinion, I don't think that would be my opinion.
Well, you haven't looked at the plans, but in our opinion, we examined them, we talked to the consultants, and that's our recommendation.
Mark, if I would just add that the revisions required by the jurisdictions are on a case-by-case basis and are subject to the plan checker's comment. So some traffic control plans were accepted in their current form. Some were required to have revisions. And there's actually a couple that we haven't heard back from that were submitted immediately, such as the city of LA. They've been under review for almost 9 months now, and we're still yet to receive comments on.
I can appreciate it takes time to get these payments back. Whoever's responsible for the plans is responsible for making the corrections. I don't get why we would pay them to do the work that they theoretically would have been paid to do.
It depends.
I can understand that they would ask for additional compensation.
No, it depends how the scope was set up.
I was going to say
the amount of hours that was set up in the consultant's scope. And again, like Kevin said, we see, of course, what the consultant asked for, and we check it against what was scoped, what we had requested in an RFP, and we make a determination whether it was included or it's not included. And in this case, there was significant amount of work that we said, no, this doesn't, this is not justified. The tune of $70,000, as Kevin mentioned. These particular, this scope of work, we thought that it's justified, and it's our recommendation.
You were going to say something, President?
I was going to say, I don't have an issue with how they handle the traffic control. We have to pay for it anyway, whether we pay the contractor or whomever we pay. We'd agree to the system that was established for this project. But as long as we're not paying twice for the work, I'm happy.
Of course.
Okay. So
I assure you, Director, we won't pay for something twice.
I just think we are paying twice. We're theoretically paid to have the plans done, and if I have to prepare a set of plans, I'm always responsible for the corrections to the plans, and I normally don't get compensated for it.
well, if you didn't include the compensation for plan check in your price, you better check that.
Well, I should have.
Yeah.
It's a thing that I did.
Okay.
So normally I don't get to go back and ask for it again.
Well, it depends on is that the way you guys did it?
Yes, it depends on how much there were scoped to do. Let's say, for example, if HDR says, hey, I'll prepare a draft plan and I will put in money for a second finalizing, getting one set of comments back and doing another one. I'm just giving you an example. And if then comes in, 2 sets of comments, a little bit more back and forth, more time is spent, then we evaluate that and say, is this particular consultant entitled for that additional time? And it's not part of the original scope that they put in it. And that's how we make a determination on a case-by-case basis. And I assure the directors here that we do go through the details to make that determination.
Okay, well, if you put your professional reputation on the line, that we're not paying twice for the same services.
Absolutely do.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I think I made my comments. Any other board members have any comments? All right, President Williams, what's your wish?
I would move to staff's recommendation.
Okay, so be it. We will then move on to the next item, which is item 6A. And
Yes,
that's your calendar. The first item up is the capital improvement program status update.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman Alvarez. As you mentioned, we do have item 6A, which begins on back page 41, our capital improvement program status update. Before I hand it off to staff, I did want to make a few comments here in relation to the capital improvement program. With the request of our directors, I have previously sent out a couple of studies related to potential future capital projects. Some of them are quite old. One of which is the final report for the microfiltration reverse osmosis pilot test, which was conducted by West Bay Municipal Water District back in November of 2000. There was also a pilot scale test of advanced treatment processes for recycled water for our joint plant that was conducted back in April of 2010. And I did forward that out to the board of directors, and I am going to be working with not only staff, but maybe perhaps some of the consultants that assisted us on that as far as getting some more of the history. And so I wanted you to know that we will be bringing that back at a later date, possibly for our presentation, just to kind of provide an overview. Secondly, in relation to the capital improvement program status update that you have before you, you will notice that it is in a slightly different format. We were working with the members of the committee and with the direction from them to kind of streamline this information, provide it in a quick and timely update, and really focus in on the progress being made. So with that, I'd like to hand this item over to Wendell Johnson, our manager of engineering.
Good afternoon, Chairman Alvarez. Everyone can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good afternoon, Chairman Alvarez, members of the committee and the board. I'm here this afternoon to provide a CIP program status report. Please turn to page 43 of your packet, and I would like to introduce you to a newly formatted capital improvement program status report. The department, under the direction of the general manager and the executive manager of engineering operation, has come up with a new format to present this work. This is considered a project that a format that's under in progress, work in progress. And so we're really looking for feedback from the board through the general manager and through my manager to give us additional direction on the information that is being provided, as well as the format the information is being provided. Please turn to the next page, 44. Okay, and this is no longer an attachment. In the previous reports, we provided a map as an attachment. We have included this map in the packet or along with the CIP status report. And one thing that has been eliminated was attachment B, which was a Excel spreadsheet that provided the CIP monthly update. So we left that particular attachment off. If we could turn to page 45. Okay, we broke this report into two categories. There's a construction category and a design category. Construction appears on 45. Let's go over one of the examples, and let's turn to page 49, and I'll introduce you to the information that is being provided in this status report. In this particular case, this is a Title 22 rehabilitation and replacement of the filters. There's a project description telling you the description of the project, what's expected to be done. We provide you with a project budget, which tells you what is funded in the current year's budget. In this particular case, we're looking at FY 21 and 22, which is $561,155 funded in this fiscal year. The total project cost over 5 years is $4,217,339. We're here in this format below, we're talking about the work that's completed, the work that's underway, and the upcoming work. In this particular instance, on this particular project, we've completed the construction on filter number 2, 8, and 9. We've had site inspections, we've done data collection, we've evaluated alternatives, we've provided 4 technical memorandums along with preliminary design plans and spec. The work that's underway on this particular project is the final design plans and specification, as well as the bid package. And what is coming up in this particular instance in April, we're going to be soliciting for the construction. Under the status and challenges, this is where we talk about the schedule, we talk about the budget or any type of challenges like with the supply chain, which is affecting a lot of construction these days. In this particular case, we're saying that the R&I design of filters 1 and 2 differ from filters 11 through 14, which is the common filter. The R&R is limited to 2 filters at a time to minimize disruption in the process or that operation is producing the Title 22 water for that. And we move to the next slide, which is the Carson Phase 2 expansion. This information is similar. And if there's any questions or any comments from the committee and from the board, I'm welcome to take your questions. If there's any of the projects that are included in the packet that you would like some additional detail, I can provide you an update, and I have some of my staff on standby here if I cannot not able to answer your question. With that comment, are there any questions?
Thank you very much. President Williams, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you for your the new format here. That it's a lot better than the old one. I just want to say that again here, and you said earlier that you're going to correct this in terms of these projects that have been around for a while are identified by their CIP number, and that CIP number should run with the project from beginning to the end. And the way you structured this again is better than before, but I would imagine it's going to keep getting better and better. And that's all I have for now, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so I have, I guess I have a few questions. First of all, one of the things we were looking for is just trying to get a handle on the CIP, because it's really not defined in our budget, except that there's some money in there for it, etc. And in the materials you presented to us, as President Williams said, this is a clean and thoughtful approach, but still begs some questions. First, if I go to page 44, one of the things we were asking for really is a definition of all the CIP that are undergoing. So right now we have a total of 19 projects. That's a list of projects that you've shown on that summary page. There are no other CIP projects, or there are?
There are other projects that are in the conception stages, okay? Or there's some projects that at one time we worked on that have been put on hold, like for example, the Kenneth Hahn expansion. Additionally, we have a part of the chemical storage project. We have the day take replacement that is going on at Edward C. Little Recycling Facility. So there are some minor projects that are along in the works, as well as some technical projects like the master plan, like the plans and specifications update, the labor compliance, the emergency management plan, which are not as a part of these, part of the capital projects because they're considered program projects.
So just in terms of CIP, so there are additional to the 19 that are listed here, there's a few others. So maybe we can get the complete list with, as President Williams has said, the CIP number.
Yes, we'll come back with additional projects which may not have been included in this group, as well as reporting on the CIP number.
Okay. So then the other thing I think we were looking for was the original cost estimates. And so for each of these projects, you have included, so for example, if we look at the Juanita Melinda McDonald Carson Phase 2 extension, the project budget, you say it's $18.5 million for FY 21-22, and the 5-year CIP is $21.1 million. What was the original estimate for the project when the project was back to the day when you had a CIP number issued to it? What was the cost at that time, and how has the cost changed over time?
What I can do on these type of projects is we can put in the original fiscal year that the project was introduced to the CIP and what the estimated then in this particular case, I'm believing somewhere in 2018 that this project was originally conceived, but I can provide the budget information about the original conception of the project as well as the year that it was conceived in.
Okay, that would be very helpful.
Yeah.
So the date approved, and then how was it approved? So if it was approved, at what board, action was taken to approve the project? And so along those lines, what would be really useful is the date approved, how it was approved, the approved budget. Then the budget spent to date, the remaining budget, and are you on track or is it over budget? And if it's over budget, when was the item taken back to the board to get a budget increase to accommodate the overrun? So those things would be helpful additions to what you presented today.
Can I jump in there for a minute?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, to me, the important thing here for the CIP projects, these are the projects that we're spending part cash on, right? And this is what we want to keep up with. We want to keep up with how we're spending on that. The program part of it, we've gone past that because we moved it out of program into project, the CIP list, actually spending the money. And this is what we have to, the promise that we made to our constituents, that we are spending their money on improving project improvements. And this is what we want to show. the programs are wonderful. We can't get anywhere without the program, right? And so we want to make sure that at the same time that we are spending the money and it looks like we are spending the money wisely. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else, sir?
Oh, I'm good. This is information, right?
Correct.
That's correct.
Any other board members have any comments or questions? Okay. Well, if not, then I think you got some input that you were asking for the next time around, if we can get that expanded information.
We did.
The CIP number is very critical. I think you've heard from both of you today that we're really interested in tracking all of the costs per CIP, per project.
Understood.
Understood. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, so moving on with the agenda, we have one more present item. Actually, I think we have two more.
That's correct.
The water facilities operations update. So who's going to present that, Mr. General Manager?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As you mentioned, item 6B is our water facilities operations update. It does begin on packet page, I believe it's 61. And for this update, we do have Susanna Lee, our senior operations engineer, as well as Frank Fuchs, our operations supervisor. And I apologize, it begins on packet page 66.
Okay, go ahead, Susanna.
Good afternoon, Chairman Alvarez. I hope you guys can hear me okay. And members of the board and public. As EJ said, you can find a copy of the memo starting on page 66. And the copy of the presentation begins on page 76. So as we're heading into the holiday season, staff, and I am happy to report that things are finally calming down and slowly heading back to some form of normalcy. And with that said, let's begin by reviewing our influent water quality in the month of November. So during the month of November, unfortunately, as the graph shows that the turbidity was a little bit higher, and we did see a couple of mini upsets as a result of Hyperion starting some of their units that are down during the events, and they had lost their oxygen units for a few days. And so you can see that their turbidity during middle of the November were a lot higher. So overall, the average for November was about 20 compared to October. You can see the turbidity was a little bit lower. The good news is that we have met all of the compliance and permit requirements for our products, disinfectant tertiary products, for the whole entire month of November. So overall, compared to prior to the event a year ago, as you can see on the left side of the graph, the water that we are receiving now still a lot higher compared to previously. So going to the next page on 77, this is just a closer look on the influent turbidity for the duration of this event. You can see, as I mentioned, that for the month of November, the turbidity was significantly higher than compared to the 3-year average of 13. So as we're heading into December right now, we are seeing that the water quality has improved compared to November. So keeping our finger crossed that heading into the holiday season, we will remain so that way. We can turn to the next page, just a quick recap and just look forward to what we can expect in the next few weeks in terms of the continued response to the Hyperion Influent upset. In terms of water quality, as I mentioned, it has improved. However, it still remains higher than last year. But I'm happy to report that we are gearing up for a barrier startup at the beginning of the year. So compliance staff is busy in coordinating with the regulator in all the sampling and the startup plan scheduling. So we are communicating to the regulators, and soon that we will be beginning the barrier delivery of water to the barrier system. From the operational challenge side, as you're all aware that we'll continue to be challenged with higher chemical costs. As due to the improving water quality, we have reduced ferric chloride dosage as well as polymers and anti-scaling dosages. So that's happy to report that has helped. And on the disinfected tertiary side, SUS staff was very busy in the month of November trying to clean up all the systems. And I'm happy to report that both pre-treatment highway clarifier are now back in operations, as you can see in the photo on the right. And so as a result of that, most of our disinfected tertiary system are now off potable water supplement. We are still using a little bit of potable water for Chevron nitrified because we're still seeing higher than normal ammonia, and a couple of our Bio4 units still seeing some breakthrough. So we're hoping that will improve in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully we can turn potable water completely off on Chevron nitrified. And continue as a challenge is the microfiltration production at ECL. As you're aware that phase 4 is highly impacted during this event. So, but SUS staff has completed unit 19 for phase 4, and we have put that back in operation. So that's a very encouraging news. And they're continue to replace the rest of the phase 4 clovers. And as we are waiting for phase 4 MF membranes arrival, we will continue to come up with a more precise ramp-up schedule for barrier in the coming weeks. We are working together with Sinor to see if they can speed up on the delivery of those membrane modules. So I will be reporting and let you know next month to see what that looks like. Other preparations that are needed to get barrier back in operations include cleaning up of the storage basin with all the water, the stagnant water that is in that basin, and then checking on the UV systems, as well as calibration of all the instrumentation, making sure they are working. So SUS staff has been very busy and trying to get that system ready and to start. On the next page, it's just some of the pictures, highlights on the maintenance activities. On the left-hand side, I'm happy to report that the Influent pipe leak was repaired. We reported back in October that there was a pipe leak with the Influent line, so that has been completed. On the bottom left is some PM on the electrical side of the assets. So we have contractor come and do the check and cleaning of some VFD cabinets. In the middle, you can see this is a picture of when the contractor completely, cleaned out the pre-treatment highway clarifier. So the contractor actually suited up and went all the way down to the bottom and cleaned out all the solids and hosed down. And so I'm happy to report that both pre-treatment highway clarifier are completely clean and they're now in operation. And finally, on the right-hand side is some repair work on the wiring repair for the Chevron boiler feed decarb blower. The next slide is our normal compliance activities. Staff submitted a total of 5 reports, and we received no notice of violations, and we completed a sample of 120 samples.
Let me interrupt you for a second. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, I just need to ask this question because I'm also an old maintenance man. Public maintenance, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at this, the cleaning, this, what do you call this?
The clarifier?
This clarifier?
To clarify in the middle, yes.
Yes. How long has that been in service?
The pre-treatment clarifier back in operation, it has been a couple of weeks right now.
A couple of what?
Couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks. We
Well,
put it back in online a couple of weeks.
Question. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So I completed this report. I'm going to turn over to Frank to complete the remaining presentation.
Thank you, Susanna. Good afternoon, directors. So this is continuing on to page 82 of your board packet. And this is our monthly update of support that we provide our purveyors. The 2 items I wanted to highlight only are for WB30 and WB31. This is for manhole covers that were replaced by Golden State Water Company. We anticipate coming back to the board next month with an agreement for this. And then secondly, I also wanted to mention that there's a planned shutdown of the second lower feeder for 12 days in January, which will impact the city of Lomita and California Water Service Company. And we have been coordinating with them to ensure that they're planning for that shutdown. And then finally, for the Title 22 Purveyor Service Program, the wellhead sampling for the 4th quarter has been completed. The next slide, please. This is page 83 of your board packet. And again, this is our monthly update for the recycled water distribution activities that are implemented by Influent, our distribution operator, with the exception of the site inspections that are noted at the bottom of the table. So for the month of November, we didn't have any leaks reported. However, Influent implemented monthly maintenance on air vacuum valves and exercise distribution system valves. There were a significant number of water samples taken throughout the distribution system still as a result of the Hyperion upset, but overall we have seen improvements in the water quality in the distribution system. There were a total of 744 underground service alerts that Influent responded to, and then also we had a total of 22 site inspections that were implemented by our operations technician. And on the bottom of the photographs, the 2 on the left are show photographs of maintenance that was conducted on air vacuum valves, just the before and after. And on the 2 right photos, one of them shows a valve, just an example of a valve that was exercised, and on the right shows the markings that Influent conducts for us for the underground service alerts. So moving on to the next slide, this is page 84 of your board packet. And so this is, and this slide, we just wanted to highlight the recycled water site inspections that are conducted by our operations technician, Sergio Nunez. And these are for sites that are already connected to the recycled water system. So per our Title 22 permit to produce and distribute recycled water, West Basin is responsible to ensure that users comply with the guidelines for safe use of recycled water. And so as a result, West Basin conducts periodic inspections of each site. And we target sites to be inspected on a yearly basis. But there are some sites that don't require yearly inspections, such as lower risk sites, for example, like Caltrans sites. And so we primarily want to ensure the safe use of recycled water. We want to prevent anyone from drinking recycled water. And so that also includes preventing cross-connection tests, preventing cross-connections between recycled water and potable water. So we also want to prevent any uses that are not approved specifically for that site. So when conducting a site inspection, our operations technician will have a set of plans of the recycled water system for that site. He has a checklist, and so he's going to go through and make sure that there's sufficient signage at all points of entry. He's looking for areas where there may be ponding of recycled water, such as the photograph on the top right, which is not allowed. He's also checking for appropriate backflow protection on the potable water system. And then finally, he's also checking to make sure there, of course, are no modifications of the recycled water or even the potable water system. Any modifications, do need to be approved by the Department of Public Health before they are implemented. So again, this is just to highlight, again, the site inspections that are conducted after a site is connected to recycled water. So moving on to the next slide.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Are these folks notified when we're coming out?
Yes, so there is a designated recycled water site supervisor for each site, and so our operations technician will notify them that he's coming out, and he sends them a final report or checklist that the site has been inspected. And he'll also notify them if there's any deficiencies that need to be implemented.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
So this is slide page 85 of your board packet, and so this is going back to new recycled water sites that we work with to connect to the recycled water system. So before they can actually be connected to recycled water, we work with the Department of Public Health to ensure that the site owner or the contractor is installing everything for Department of Public Health requirements. So these are just some of the photographs of the irrigation system that was recently installed over at the Hollywood Park Retail Phase 1 in the SoFi Stadium development. And this site is expected to be connected in April of next year. Moving on to the next slide. This is page 86 of your board package, and this is for the Torrance Technology Center, the second phase. And this site is expected to be connected in March. And again, similarly, these are photographs of the new irrigation system that were recently installed that both the Department of Public Health and West Basin staff inspect as well. And then the next slide, please. This is our monthly update of the Topgolf site. This is adjacent to the Edward C. Little treatment facility. Staff is continuing to inspect the irrigation system. That there's a portion of irrigation that is being installed around the facility on the right side. So staff has been going out to conduct inspections of the new irrigation, which is anticipated to be completed in March of next year. And then the next slide. And this is page 88 of your board package. And this is for an existing site. So this El Camino College is a site that was already connected to recycled water. And they notified us that they were going to make modifications, and in this case to the potable water system. And so we worked with them to get approval for all these modifications, to update their plans, and work with the Department of Public Health to inspect these to make sure that they're labeled appropriately, and of course that they're not interconnected with any recycled water at the site. So, and this work is expected to be completed in October of next year. And that concludes our update, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Very good.
Do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. I've got a question, Susanna. In terms of the Ed.C. Little plant and the Hyperion plant, is Hyperion pretty much back to normal, or are they still tweaking their systems to get back to normal?
I know that they're not 100% have all of the equipment online yet, but we have seen, we continue to track their water quality daily, and their water quality has been more stable. So I know there's some pumps that they're still working on, and I'm not sure how many more primary clarifier units that they're still offline, but we continue to have close communications with the operations.
But in terms of the water quality they're delivering, it's pretty stable now?
The last couple of weeks, yes. I mean, you saw the graph earlier. For a good 2 weeks of the November, we're still seeing the peaks and valleys. The last couple of weeks, we're seeing more tighter bands, like hovering around like 15 to 20. So we are averaging lower.
Okay, because it seemed like it's getting pretty close to back to that 3-year average line that you track against.
Yeah, if you look at the second slide, if you go to the next slide, yes, we're pretty close. In terms of stability, like I said, this last 2 weeks, we are seeing more stable, and we didn't see those high peaks that we saw back in November. But if they are turning on another unit, we may see those peaks again.
Okay, thank you. Any other board members have any questions? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move on. We have one more information item, and that's the update on the Donald Deere office building. So, Mr. General Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you mentioned, the item before you is 5C. It's just a brief oral update. I had a chance to discuss this with at least one of the committee members, so I thought I'd bring it back just to provide a quick overview. As you might recall, back in August, staff did bring an item to this committee related to the Donald L. Deere building, the potential needs for some of the, or with the existing facility and potential future needs. At that time, it was the direction from this committee for West Basin staff to pursue an appraisal of the building. On August 23rd, we did issue a request for proposals. We were able to receive those proposals in September 2nd. You might recall that we did bring this before the committee later that month to talk about the proposal. It was approximately $10,000, I think a little bit more. And because of that, what we did is staff engaged the appraiser and discussed potentially altering the scope of work. On October 7th, we were able to get a slightly reduced scope. We eliminated 2 of the specific items related to the analysis that they would provide. We were then able to check that proposal just to make sure that we were comparing apples to apples and that the proposal was decently priced. We thought it was, and we finalized that scope on October 25th. And I was pleased to announce that we actually received the executed agreement with that firm on November 9th. And since that time, we've been working with the appraiser to provide them with the information that they've been requesting. Even as recent as last week, we received an additional request for information. And we do have to hope to have that appraisal for this committee and for the board potentially in January, so in the beginning of the year. So I just wanted to provide that quick update. It's been a lot of work, and I want to thank our team here for working not only with myself and of course with the direction of the committee, but of course working with the appraiser to get us a much lower price and something that I think that the committee will be very happy with. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to answer any questions, but otherwise I would expect an additional report next month.
Okay. Thank you. President Williams, you have any questions?
Yeah, I just have one quick question. I believe I've asked this before, and I just want to know whether or not the title, the designation, Donald L. Deere Building, does that run with that title runs with the headquarters or just the building? It's important.
That would be at the, oh, go ahead, I apologize.
It's important that we know.
I think, you know, if you go back to the original action by the board of directors, obviously the name and title does not run with the real estate, so it doesn't run with this building. It would run with this building as long as West Basin Municipal Water District occupied it. However, at the discretion of the board of directors, the headquarters of West Basin could always remain as the Donald L. Deere Building. So we could actually take the name with us to a potential future site or whatever the direction of the board is. So we would retain that title no matter where we are at the direction of the board.
Okay, so we don't have to leave it here on the building.
That'd be to our discretion.
It's okay.
I would. Did anybody who bought the building would want to keep the name on anyway? I wouldn't want to.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
All right. I'm a little surprised how long it's taken to get this appraisal done. I thought we'd be much further along, but I'm glad to hear that it's finally moving and that we'll have something next month. So any other questions or comments from any other board members? Okay, seeing none, then moving on our agenda, next item's closed session. We do not have one today. And director's comments. So do we have any comments for future agenda items? President Williams.
None.
Other board members, do you have any comments?
I just have a question of the manager. Do we have a meeting tomorrow at 2 o'clock, an ad hoc committee?
That is correct. We do have a DSAL ad hoc committee meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? I don't have any comments. I'll be providing some suggestions for our next E&O committee meeting agenda, but I don't have those at this time. So moving on, we are adjourned.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee and board, and of course, staff. Thank you all.